All right. So I'm recording this on Saturday. I wish I'd done it yesterday, but I was a bit too sleepy actually. The SPY yesterday opened green. We had a nice bounce, something I thought would happen. But what I did not anticipate is that we closed all the way red below yesterday's open. So very bearish close and massive bearish candle. Not fully engulfing, but big enough to make a statement. It was across the indices, so SPY, Nasdaq, Dow, Russell. So still, we had our bounce. Now, again, like I said, it did open green and by quite a bit. I mean, yesterday's close was 396 point something, so we opened up about 1%. Went up a little bit higher, but slowly throughout the day, we just faded the whole move. So let me just 50-minute chart. We open around here, maybe there, got up a little bit, test yesterday, this high over here, which is very zoomed in support, 400 actually. So we just go a little bit above and then just fade the whole way down. And it's a pretty ugly close. And again, it's a Friday weekly close. So we check the weekly candle, pretty horrible. Still holding support, but like I said before, this is very short-term support. It's just going to go sort of sideways up a little bit. And eventually, I think it will just flush this line, close below this ascending line, and then just continue lower. So the thesis remains intact. What I thought would happen did, but we did close very bearish. I didn't think it would be over within one day. I still think we'll go sideways. Now, Monday is it's Labor Day holiday, stock market holiday, so US markets will be closed. European markets should be open. And we'll look at the DAX because that was interesting. But if we look at all the other markets now, the Nasdaq already flushed this ascending support. And as I said in previous videos, I thought this was the next support, which it was, but the same sort of candle, opened higher than yesterday's, let's say Thursday's close, but just the whole day faded. And it must be the same for all of them. Very bearish, but still within support, just. So I think we go lower next week. That'll do for the US indices. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We've gone over it in the last few videos. So, one last recap. We moved all the way down, small bounce here. We might do 1 or 2 days sideways action. I don't think we're going to go much higher. 401 is probably resistance. To be honest, if we go test 401, we might go higher, but I still don't think it's going to be much, just sideways. And then as soon as we take out this ascending support, obviously we'll test this 390.5 area and then we go lower. So sideways to lower in the short term, and in the medium to long term lower anyway. That's how I feel. So pretty bearish. I don't see many things around the corner geopolitically or macroeconomically to reverse that trend, especially since Jackson Hole. Let's look at the European markets, which should be open on Monday. The DAX on Friday had a very nice session. Now, it did close before the US market started to really fade. So I think immediately on Monday, it'll open down a bit to make up for the US close on Friday. But we did think, look, I say we, I'm talking about me. It hit this sort of triple flush zone ascending support, right? Let's say between 12,400 and 12,600. It had a bit of a bounce. I mean, I thought it might bounce a little bit, but this is quite impressive, 3.33%. So what do I expect on Monday? Sort of open a bit red, closed even more red, basically just hovering in the low area here. Let's say 12,800-ish. And then it'll probably wait for the US markets to open on Tuesday before making any dramatic move lower. But if the US markets continue, which I think they will on Tuesday, just to go lower, whatever, doesn't matter. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think we go test the lows and flush. And the DAX will be the first of the major indices to flush its, low of this year. And in this case, it's 12,400. And I think I've already identified this zone here. Let's call it 11,500 as the next decent support zone, which I think from my last video was about 6% from the 12,400 zone. A bit more. Yeah, well, 6 to 7% drop can be done in a week. But even if it's 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. The point is, if it flushes this, it's signaling something significant for Europe, but also the United States soon after. I mean, by then you can expect the SPY to be testing its lows or just near about its lows. So that's what I expect next week. I think the DAX, the European German markets will open a bit red, close more red, and then Tuesday, Wednesday will be flushing lower. So that's the markets, US and Europe. The dollar. Now, it doesn't look like much happened on Friday, but it was a decent, just like the markets faded the whole move, the dollar bounced from the very beginning of the open, let's say. So already the DXY is flagging near its 110 zone. This is weekly ascending support resistance, so very bullish at the moment. This is not perfectly placed, but whatever. It's just closing up there, and also coinciding with this little final resistance candle over here as I identify it. So I think really, we close a little higher, we close above 110, and you pretty much got clear skies until 118, 120. This is a big move. I mean, this will be, I mean, if it's doing this, you can bet the markets are testing their lows and going lower. So everything is sort of painting the same pattern. So a strong dollar, lots of fear. We'll do crypto in a different video. Let's check interest rates. I wouldn't say too much. It did drop a little bit. You'd expect it to, with what happened with the dollar, you'd expect it to be flat for the day, range bound, maybe closing around high 340s, 3.4s, but it dropped a bit. This is nothing meaningful. I mean, look, it broke out of its 3.45 zone, went a little bit higher, pierced through 3.5, and now it's just retracing to, the scene of the crime, the previous resistance. So nothing dramatic. I'd say for the 2-year, 10-year, same thing. Obviously, they're all going to follow the same direction. So just sort of sideways action. So I don't think there's much to read into the interest rates on Friday. Let's look at the gold and silver. They had a very nice move, and I thought this would happen too. So obviously the markets were going to bounce. Gold and silver had really moved down. I thought they were going to bounce, and gold and silver especially, and then that's what happened. And I think they bounced a bit more than I expected. So gold already, I actually thought gold might touch 1680 when it came down on Thursday. It didn't actually touch 1680, just sort of high 1680s. But the bounce was good. We even took out 1700, and we went all the way up to, what was it, 17, almost 1720. So that's a decent bounce. Still very bearish overall. The picture is intact. Gold and silver will keep going lower, and the all-important 1670 support on gold must hold, because if we're going to go sideways and maybe lower next week, gold will probably go and test that 1670 zone. It might hold actually, because this is not some soft support. This is, multi-year, you could say, support zone. So it shouldn't give way too easily. Silver, as usual, reacts more than gold on the way up and on the way down. So that had a nice move, 1.5%. And you can see it gave a lot of that back, about half of it. It did go to about 18.3. And you can see a lot of that resistance is previous support here. These tails, these wicks here, they obviously acted as support previously and this time resistance. So standard technical reactions. It's got a long way to go. Again, I think we're just going to sort of go sideways with the market next week. And then if everything goes lower, the markets, the dollar goes up, interest rates go up. Then gold and silver will go back down. And I think if gold is going to be testing its 1670 zone of support, I think that will coincide with about low 17s with silver. I mean, how much of a move down is that? Yeah, 4 or 5% will probably equate to gold being down 2%. That's about right. So gold 1670, silver 17. And to me, that's another buy zone. I mean, I didn't mention this, or did I? I bought on Thursday. Yes, I bought on Thursday. I didn't sell anything on Friday. Probably should have, because I expect Tuesday the markets to be lower. But I don't, I said I was looking for about a 5% move in the miners, which I might as well move to now. It's what we got. But I'm not really in it for well, I said I was in it for a flip. But I don't really care too much if I hold what I bought and it goes lower, because these are such good prices that, yeah, you can make a 5-6% move profit. But if you're in it for the long term and you buy more, and what I think is going to happen is we just reverse and eventually test this longer term downtrend line. And eventually I think we're going to all-time new highs. So the percentage moves will be just colossal. So I didn't really think about selling, put it that way. I didn't sell. So it was a nice sort of move, but I didn't sell it. And I think we'll be testing the lows again. So I'm just accumulating this. I think these are great prices, and I didn't feel like selling it. So, and we gave quite a bit, well, not too much of it back actually. I just remember seeing 5% at some point. And here I see 3.9. Yeah, it was sort of 5, almost 6% on my GDXJ. That looked pretty good. Closed the gap from the open. So if you look at the rest of the market, the precious metals were very bullish. I mean, if I just look at all the other sort of stocks, just very quickly, sometimes I just glance at the overall picture to get an idea, and it's just red everywhere. So when you have 3, 4, 5, 6% up in the sector, it stands out. So, but I mean, the metals are actually, sometimes they lead the market. So, they get destroyed the most on the way down, although they've been destroyed so much now they don't do that as much. But on the bounce, they bounce more than the other sectors. So it's not too surprising that they acted quite well on this bounce. So that's the GDX and GDXJ. Some of my individual holdings, Newmont, which I hold a lot of, that's been a very good defensive stock, so it hasn't moved down too much relative to the other sectors. But then again, it doesn't move up too much either compared to the other ones. So you'd expect to see 1, 2, maybe 3% move up with the sector. And you have the Agnico Eagle. They all have similar chart patterns. Obviously, they're all part of the GDX. So Barrick Gold, a new holding. Yamana, this is a new holding. That did quite well. That's being acquired by Gold Fields. So I've actually increased my holdings of both of those recently. Wheaton Precious Metals done quite well. It's quite good for a senior. Pan American, it's been destroyed a lot recently, so I would have expected this to move a bit more. Mag Silver, very good. Goldfields, similar, 5% move. First Majestic. Now we're getting towards the more aggressive silver stocks, but they didn't move up as much as I would have expected. Moved up as much as some senior gold stocks. So, but anyway, this is all just maybe too zoomed in analysis for just one day. EXK, CDE, these stocks are really at their lows, and these are good stocks. These will move, I can imagine 10-20% on a good day. And that's just the start. I mean, when you really have a reversal, these things will just do 50% in a week. This is really what I think. So I mean, you zoom out, look at this very solid companies. I mean, they're not as solid as the Newmonts and the Barrick Golds, but these are not going bankrupt, you know. These are not sort of weak juniors. These are established silver stocks. So EXK, very strong stock. First Majestic, Fortuna, these can easily make 100% moves easily. And then that's just confirming that they're in a bull market and more is to come. I mean, look at this previous support. This should be April. Yeah, so if you remember when the market started tumbling, the gold and silver stocks actually tested their prior highs around here. So we actually moved up. And I thought, okay, the market's going to go down and we're going to go all the way up. We're going to act inverse to the market. But then the old pattern of everything gets thrown out when the market really is crushing. That's what happened. And then you started to go down. So we had gold prices all the way in the 2000s because of the war. So fundamentally, everything, all of the stars were aligned for the miners. And we've come down basically 50% on some really well-established stocks. So you can be sure that when it reverses, if you're not dealing with bankrupt companies, if you're dealing with companies that are very profitable with all-in sustainable costs of let's say $1,000 per ounce, and we're up at the 18, 17, 1600s, these stocks should just really go back to their old highs and keep going. So that's why the 3, 4, 5% move, yeah, I could have taken it, but I don't know, maybe it's just the mood I was in. It was a Friday and I just thought, nah, it's not worth it. And if it keeps going down, good. So that's the whole point of having a long-term thesis. And I think I'm going to do a video on risk management because it's not just risk management, it's sort of trading your plan and having a short-term, medium-term, and long-term outlook and sticking to it and being flexible. If things change, then you need to change with the market. So I digress. The stocks did well. The silver stocks did well. They all did sort of well. I'd say an average of 4% move. Grand Colombia, something I added recently because that's also had some good news. So it's testing its sort of local lows. So I thought I'd buy a bit of that. And that's it really. These were sort of unchanged. A lot of these sort of didn't really open. So this is a fake minus 7%. Don't read too much into that. I don't really want to cover this stock here. This stock here, Trillium Energy, has had a fantastic breakout. It's oil and gas, and it's kind of related to, it's not related to gold, but it's resource commodity related. And you can see this is obviously related to the war in Ukraine, with energy prices just soaring all over the place, especially oil and gas in Europe. And in particular gas, and that's what this stock is related to. Now, this is the new US ticker. The Canadian ticker is TCF, and actually the old American ticker was TCFF, and that had the whole story behind it, which would show the prior chart. It's a shame we've lost that now, but it was a lot easier to predict future prices because this one here I actually think is going to take out 65 Canadian dollars and run towards one and keep going. But I don't want to get into that into this video. It was quite a significant moment on Friday for me because this is, you can tell, a meaningful move. But anyway, it's not related to gold. It's just another commodity stock, and this is a sign maybe of things to come because okay, it's more of an immediate issue, oil and gas, but gold, not just as a monetary metal, but as a physical commodity. Silver also is a strategic metal. You never know because as we saw in the London Metal Exchange, prices can just go crazy. All of a sudden, nickel, copper, whatever, they can just spike, and it's something to be wary of. No one's really imagining that this could happen, but gold and silver, to me, they shouldn't be going down, but they are. I understand why they're going down. Everyone just sells it, but long term, medium term, fantastic buys. So another reason to to hold these stocks. Maybe that's what played in my mind. Maybe that's why I didn't take little profits of 5% move. I was seeing what could happen for these commodity stocks, albeit in a different sector. But anyway, so to recap, I expect next week, obviously Monday markets are closed. I expect the DAX to open a little lower than where it closed because it had a great day, and the US markets after its close went down. So we probably open a bit lower. I think we'll just fade a bit lower. And then on Tuesday, when the US markets open, maybe have a small bounce because we did sell off quite a lot. But ultimately take out the lows here and then start our descent across the board. And then I think the DAX will be the first one to take out 12,400, which will then lead the SPY down to its lows. We'll probably bounce around here with the DAX, but yeah, lower. So let me know what you think, and have a good weekend.